Hello.
Hello, may I speak to Mr. Mustang Mike, please?
Speaking.
Welcome to Pipebomb Radio, sir. This is Felix, and of course on the other line is Austin.
Austin
How you doing
James.
What's up, guys? How y'all doing tonight?
Doing well, sir. How about you?
Oh, can't complain.
Well, you could. I mean, we all like to, right?
Well, it doesn't do me much good. There's only a few good ones out there that want to listen to me, but anyway.
All right. Well, we appreciate you taking the time to talk to us tonight and telling us a little bit about who you are and what you've done in your career as far as professional wrestling goes and where you're headed. We got a couple questions for you, myself and Austin, and I will let Austin fire away first so we can get this party started.
You know, I wanted to start with who has trained you in your pro wrestling career. You know, the people that took a hand in building up who is Mustang Mike today.
Right. Well, I guess in professional wrestling, there's always a variety of people who help you along the way. When I first started back in 1994, I was introduced into professional wrestling by actually the late Bronco Bob. I met him through a mutual friend, and he was a professional wrestler at the time, and we met, got to be friends, and he told me about the fact that he was wrestling for Mid-South Wrestling in Houma, Louisiana. And I talked to him and told him about my desire as a kid watching wrestling growing up and wanted to be a professional wrestler. And he told me he could give me the avenue to make that happen. So I came to a professional wrestling match they was having in Houma back, I guess that was around June or July, about July 1994. And before the match, and we got in the ring and kind of showed him some of the skills that I had, and we started working on it. And then as time progressed, I started wrestling and training over there at the school they had in Houma, which was ran by a guy named Crazy Joe and Kent Truth. The federation at the time was ran by Frank Jeffries, and they started to train me along with the tutelage of Bronco, of course. And about 3 or 4 months of training, I actually, by pure accident, I was able to have my first match. They had a cancellation, a guy coming from out of town that couldn't make it, and they were actually short a guy. And I had been wrestling and training at the time, and they turned around and gave me the opportunity to have my first match. And that was in November of 1994. So I was able to get in the ring and wrestle as a tag team match with Bronco Bob, which is why my name is Mustang Mike. He was a cowboy back then, and I wanted to keep my name Mike, and I was able to come up with the name Mustang Mike, and from then on, I'm in my 19th year of professional wrestling. So, of course, I don't do the cowboy gimmick anymore, but the name Mustang Mike just stuck with me, and that's what everybody knows me at. So I kept the name Mustang Mike, and of course, along the years, there's been so many guys who's helped tutor me and give me advice and help along the way. Some of the local independent guys, such as Kevin Northcutt, John Saxon, multiple different guys from Louisiana and the southern Gulf region area. But, there was other guys that would come in and wrestle from Mid-South, like Terry Taylor, Bob Armstrong, late gentleman Chris Adams, Junkyard Dog, late Junkyard Dog. All those guys would come in through Mid-South and make appearances, and then I would get to meet them and talk to them, and they would give me some tutelage and help along the way. And, there's nothing like advice from somebody who's been to the big show and could able to help pull me along the way. And so they gave me, so many guys has given me help along the way, and that's what I've done as I've gotten older, and I guess considered to be a veteran of at least the southern region, wrestling Texas and Mississippi and Louisiana and areas like that. So the guys who's come up along the last 10 years, I've been able to kind of give them that same advice that's helped me to get to the level that I've got to. But but more or less that's how it started for me. Had my first tag team match with Bronco Bob against my actual trainers, which was Crazy Joe and Kent Truth. Back in the day, they were called the Hard Time Express. They was some prisoners, and they had former prison guys, and that's what they wrestled, the Hard Time Express. And believe me, they didn't take it easy on me. Back in the day, it was a lot rougher breaking into the business. You really took the hard end of the stick back then. Oh yeah, a lot of the guys nowadays they break in and they move up to the top rather quickly, and they might have the look or the charisma or whatever, but it was a lot harder to break in back in the day and also make your way up the ladder. You was at the bottom for a while, scratching and clawing to move yourself up, and you took a lot more, I guess you'd say, hard knocks back in the day. But nevertheless, it's the business of professional wrestling, and I'm in my 19th year and still going at it.
So was Bronco Bob your main inspiration to getting into professional wrestling, or were you into it prior, before you meeting him?
Well, I was probably, just a fan back in the day, watching the days of Mid-South and all the guys like that, World Class Championship Wrestling, Georgia Championship Wrestling. This is, of course, back in the 90s, and, always was a fan of it. But I knew that I had the ability to be able to do more. But at the time, the bigger federations was like, WWF and NWA, and then, of course, Mid-South that did, stuff in Alexandria and Baton Rouge and stuff like that. So I would go to the house shows and watch it, and I was always a fan of it. So when I met Bronco, it was that avenue that I could actually break in at some sort of level. So he wasn't like a hero of mine because I didn't know him at the time. He was just on the independent level, just like, all the regular guys who was trying to make it up to the top as well, which he's had some success. He's traveled around the country and went to Mexico and different places and stuff like that. Of course, he passed away back in November of last year, so God rest his soul. But like I said, so he wasn't necessarily a hero of mine. He was just a guy that I met and become friends with, and gave me the avenue to be able to pursue my career as a professional wrestler.
Very cool, very cool. Was there actually a guy coming up over the years? I mean, you've definitely come up and seen a lot and worked with a lot of great people. Was there any particular person who you just, when you seen them coming in, you were like, holy cow, he's coming in here, and I get to meet him? It kind of left you like starstruck kind of thing. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
was there anybody that's ever done that to you?
Yeah, well, definitely the Junkyard Dog, the late Junkyard Dog. I mean, he was a hero. Yeah, he was a hero all over the world. He wrestled for WWE. He wrestled all over the place. And I was fortunate after about a year and a half into wrestling with Mid-South that he came in and had a stint back again with Mid-South after he had moved on to other things. He came back and was living in Mississippi. So when he came in, of course, I was one of the local fan favorites in Houma, being from Morgan City, and he came in for about a 4-month span and was wrestling with us, and I was fortunate enough to become a member of his what they called the Dog Pound. It was
I remember
himself, Bronco Bob, myself, and my partner back then, Psycho Mike, which I'm still partners with now at a lot of shows. But we was the 4 members of the Dog Pound. It was back in late 1995, and of course I was able to be on one of the last shows that he was on. He was leaving the show and had went back to Mississippi and worked the show, and then leaving that show, he got in a car wreck and got killed. So I was technically a member of the Dog Pound when he passed away. So I mean, he was a definite inspiration to me, childhood hero that I actually got to get in the ring with, and be a part of. So I mean, yeah, it was. That's probably the most memorable moment I have of meeting anyone who is, technically famous. Of course, I met the late gentleman Chris Adams was prevalent in world-class championship wrestling. Tommy Wildfire Rich, Terry Taylor, Terry Taylor, Bob Armstrong, multiple of the guys back then. Of course, Skandar Akbar, One Man Gang. So all those guys I got to meet and participate on shows with, and then I just moved my way up the ranks of Mid-South Wrestling. Started tag teaming with my partner Psycho Mike, and and then was able to fortunately win the Mid-South tag team titles in late 1995. After about a year in the business, won tag team belts for the first time in my hometown, Morgan City, at the Municipal Auditorium. So
now in the 1990s,
that's basically my start.
Okay. So in the 1990s, being as you were saying how it really was basically very, very tough to get in to the business. You really had to bust your butt to get where you wanted to go. Now, during that time, had you been able to possibly work any of the dark matches for WWF or even WCW at the time? And
no,
if so,
not at that time.
No?
Go ahead.
No, it's okay. You were saying?
No, not at that time. At that time, just to give you an idea of my history, I was my son was born in 1994, January 1994, and started wrestling in November of 1994. And I was a single parent. Of course, I had my parents and family and stuff helping me, but trying to raise my son on my own. And wrestled for about 2 years with Mid-South, and kept having people tell him, Mustang, you're doing real well. Why don't you try and push it to the next level and go to, WCW and try out? So I called them up, and they told me, hey, look, send us some video footage of you. So, of course, back then it was the VCR tapes. Yep. So, I sent them a tape, and they basically looked at it and said, hey, you have some skills. We're willing to take you down here and come down for a tryout and be about a 3 or 4 day stint. And if we like you, then we'll definitely bring you back and go to the next level as far as not being on the entry level. And then if we like you from there, we possibly will offer you a contract to do something either on a permanent level or on a temporary level. And so I thought about it, and I said, my son was about almost 2 years old at the time, and I just pondered about it, and I thought, well, if I am good enough to make it and I can make it to that next level, I don't want to have to say no. So and leave my son and my family behind. So I just chose to just stay on the independent level and raise my son and be around my friends and family. My parents were elderly at the time because I was adopted as a child, and I just chose the route to stay on the independent level and never go to the next level. And I've had people tell me over the years multiple times, Mustang, you're just as good as some of those guys on that level. And like, okay, well, that's enough compliment to me, So I stayed on this level, and
that. Yeah, you made that choice, and you're at peace with that. That's all that matters.
That's exactly right. I didn't want to be at the level and them say, yeah, we want you, and then I have to make a decision to do that, and then maybe regret it, thinking that I cheated myself out of not going versus going. So I just chose the route of not knowing and being content and happy with what I was doing on the independent level, and that's where I've stayed. But I have had some stints over the several years back. I did some security and did some run-in situations with actually it was WWF before it turned WWE.
Right.
But yeah, so I've been fortunate and happy enough to do that. But the independent level is what I know and what I love, and it's just really the only difference between that level as far as, of course, the extra talent. But it's just the crowd and the lights and the cameras, and we on the independent level we do the same thing as basically say the big boys do. But because there's plenty of guys right now on the independent level that's, in my opinion, or just as good or better as some of the guys that I see on TV. But it's all about having the break. All about having the break. Maybe knowing somebody that can give you that nudge or pull you up, or knowing the right person to make it to the next level. There's so many guys across the country that want that shot, and there's only limited spots to be able to make it in the big leagues.
That's very true. And with that, I'm going to actually take a quick break. We can catch our breath here and come on back. We're going to have a little bit more questions after that, and that'll be it. So hang in there. We'll be back in just a moment, guys.
All right.
Welcome back to Pipebomb Radio. I'm sorry about that, guys. I actually turned my mic off and didn't realize that. Everybody back?
Yeah, I'm here.
All right. Sorry about that, guys. All righty. Where were we? And at this point, we were talking about where you chose to work the independents and you were fortunate enough to work certain shows for WWF. Now, being that you were obviously, most people who've gotten into wrestling usually ended up being wrestling fans to begin with. And at this point, when you were wrestling in the 90s, were you following the Monday Night Wars? And if so, which side were you on?
Well, yeah, I did watch. It was interesting. I guess once I got into professional wrestling, I probably watched a little less. Of course, it was probably every weekend deal for me before I was a professional wrestler, and then once I got to doing it, I knew the inside of the business a little more. So I was able to watch it more and probably critique and learn from being on a professional wrestler level and watching what they were doing and understanding more about the business than I did as a fan. So, yeah, I did watch. Like I said, of course, the WCW versus WWF type deal. And there was just, I really didn't watch it as far as much of that. I always had my favorite wrestlers, even as I become a professional wrestler, there were certain guys that I kind of molded my career after. Of course, Ric Flair, just a flamboyant, I guess you'd say, ladies' man type deal. Not that I consider myself a ladies' man, but, I just love the fact that he could go out there and just woo people, So, of course, in my career, I've been plenty of times that I've been considered the bad guy and also the good guy. So, I guess I have two personalities when I wrestle. It just depends on what personality comes out in me. Of course, as a bad guy, it's more nurtured after Ric Flair, a little bit of ravishing Rick Rude, arrogant, knows what he has and proud of, and going to let everybody know it too. And then good guys. There's also always like Kerry Von Erich, of course, Junkyard Dog, just the guys that would go out there and really, Dusty Rhodes, the guys that would go out there and really be crowd favorites and go out there and be personable and hug the kids and talk to everybody and really be their friend. So, of course, there was plenty of good wrestling back in the late 90s, early 2000s with the NWO and, everything with the WWE. And so, of course, I did watch, but I find myself over the years, I don't watch it as much. I think it's got to be where it's more talking than wrestling, I guess you'd say. And I'm not, of course, everybody I'm sure that watches and see the same thing, and they get on there and they actually added another hour now where they're down, 3 hours. So it just gives them more time to talk. So I don't think, but that's just the business. I mean, who am I to critique when they're making billions of dollars? And so I guess whatever works for them works. But
What do you think about WrestleMania coming down to New Orleans next year?
Yeah, I think it's about time. I guess it's going to be really nice on the fact that it's going to be a decade. What is it? 30?
30 years.
30 years. So I mean, basically, it'll be a big celebration. Like I said, I'm looking to definitely. I haven't been to any WrestleManias, but I'm definitely probably planning on this one. The actually commissioner that governs wrestling for Louisiana is Alvin Topham, and I'm actually related to him. So I'm thinking I might better pull some strings and be there close up and personal on that one.
and I know I can speak for my partner here, Austin. He has never been, and I've been going to the one this year in New York. That would have been my 6th. If I get to go to New Orleans next year, would have been my 7th WrestleMania that I've been to. There's nothing like being there live. It's electric. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah. Oh, I can imagine. So, like I said, but as also, I guess myself, it just depends on what you like. I mean, of course, I understand the electricity in the air, but I also like sitting at home and getting a good ringside seat, sitting on the front row watching it on TV as well. So.
Yes, sir. That's true. That is true. Considering where I was sitting in New York, yes, I can understand that.
Mm-hmm.
But with that, I know it usually brings a lot of revenue to the town as well. Now, usually do they put on, from what I've seen in New York, they put on a lot of independent shows. Do they have, just out of curiosity, and Austin, you can probably help answer this too, do they put on a lot of independent wrestling shows in the area? And I think it's Huma? Or is it just one particular company, a few others? How many independent wrestling companies do they have out there? Hello?
Hey, I thought you were talking to Austin.
Oh,
yeah,
no, I was
matter
saying
of fact,
either one of you.
Yeah, definitely there is. Matter of fact, in 1996, Mid-South actually disbanded finally, and my partner and myself, Psycho Mike, we started GCW, which is Gulf Coast Wrestling, and we was the founders of that, and it's actually the longest running professional wrestling organization in Louisiana. I don't know about history, before back in the years and everything, but we've been running since 1996. So we're
That's
basically
a long time. Very cool.
Yeah, 16, 17 years of running shows. And of course, there's several other federations that's warranted. There's Elite Championship Wrestling, which I also wrestle for, that runs out in Houma area. Of course, Gulf Coast Wrestling, GCW, runs New Iberia, Morgan City, Amelia. We go to Baton Rouge, to Addis. We go a lot of different places, and just to throw a plug in there, GCW is wrestling this weekend. We'll have a show Friday night in New Iberia at New Iberia Senior High, and then Saturday night they'll be at Amelia Recreation Center. So those two shows are going on. And then also to mention is OWE, which is Old School Wrestling Entertainment, that wrestles out of New Orleans, which I also wrestle for. And there's also Wildcat Professional Wrestling that wrestles out of New Orleans as well. That's Luke Hawk's organization. But so there's a good 4 solid wrestling federations that run through Louisiana, which Louisiana is one of the hardest states to be able to actually put on independent wrestling shows, because we are governed by a state commission. Of course, there's a application license fee to be a promoter. Also, stipulations to be a professional wrestler. You have to be licensed. You also have to pass a hepatitis and HIV test every 6 months, for the safety of the wrestlers. It's a sanction and fee at every show to be able to run shows. And then, of course, you have to have a doctor and an ambulance present. So some of the other states, in the United States that don't have these commissions that govern them, they're able to run shows more prevalent because there's less expense involved. So in Louisiana, there's definitely, a cost to be able to put on shows. So, we really rely on the fans and a lot of the sponsors to come out and really help us because, of course, we're not charging independent level. The average ticket is between $10 and $15. So, and then the average crowd is between 150 and 400 people. So,
that's good. Real good.
Yeah. So, I mean, compared to, WWE making $100 a ticket with 10,000 people. So, of course, I know their payroll's higher, but, it hurts the small guy on a small crowd.
No, you guys sound like you guys are doing great. You get no kind of, as long as you're able to get out there and feel the electricity, it doesn't matter what size the crowd is, you still feel that excitement.
No doubt. Yeah, like I said, we've been fortunate to have some big shows. We've had GCW's had over 1,000 people on a handful of times. Some of our average shows have been 400 to 500 at schools and fundraiser functions. But I guess we probably average about 300 a show, which is very respectable on the independent level.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I was reading, and you can call this, not stalking, but I was reading that you came in second place at a bodybuilding contest, but I can't remember what the actual contest name was.
Yeah, it actually wasn't a bodybuilding. It was at a bench press competition.
Yeah, that's it.
It was about a year and a half ago. They had a bench press competition in New Orleans, and I was always pretty good for my bench press, and I went in for my first competition, and I actually took second place, so I was pretty happy with that, especially competing against guys who do it on a regular basis, and me kind of being a nobody walking in, and I guess I slipped under the radar, and they didn't expect me to do what I did, but so I was pretty happy about that. But
do you want to do that more?
What's that?
Do you want to, in the future, do more of the bodybuild bench press type deal thing?
Well, not to frown on it, but bench press is kind of a deal. As you get older, you realize that it's not the best exercise for your body. It's very hard on your shoulders and your joints, and I've learned that over the years it's probably not the smartest thing to do on a, of course there's guys that go out there and can do it forever, and I still have a very respectable bench press, but in the wrestling, mixing wrestling with heavy lifting sometimes can hurt because you've always got aches and pains, injuries from, landing wrong or just multiple times wrestling, and I injured my rotator cuff about a year ago, so I've been nursing it. So the bench press isn't the best thing you can do when you've got a rotator injury. So I've kind of stayed away from the bench press, and so I'm not sure where my future lies on competitions, but I still hit the gym 4 to 5 days a week and stay in shape. So it's not as much about the weight now as it is just keeping my body in tune, because I'm 42, so I'm wrestling with some guys that are technically half my age, and I'm still competing and running around the ring with them. So I got to toot my own horn as far as that goes,
Another thing, you actually take place in the World Series of Poker. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, that's one of my hobbies. I love poker. I played in the World Series actually a couple of times. Didn't win any money, but the experience was there. I participated in a field of over 4,000 people, and it was an experience. I actually won my seat playing in a local poker tournament, and I won my seat and airfare there. And that's one of my side passions is playing poker. Of course, I play a lot of sports, as well. I keep active with several things. I'm fortunate that I'm dating a girl from Mississippi now, and she's into sports just like me, and we work out and train, and that's something special to have. So I'm fortunate that I met her and have somebody that has the same type of lifestyle that I endure to keep myself going. She's actually a 5th degree black belt, so I gotta watch my P's and Q's with her.
Does she enjoy watching wrestling?
Yeah, she actually did make 3 shows now. She made one of my shows in New Orleans, and she was at my last show this past Sunday in Houma, and had her son and his friend come in, and I don't know if you noticed them. They had the sign that had Boom, Mustang, and Boom in big yellow and black letters at the show this weekend. So I definitely appreciate their support to come in and support me. It definitely means a lot to me. A lot of friends and family that supports me, but that's definitely special when they come in and support something that I do like that. So it's a tolling business. I mean, you're in there sweating and landing on the mat and running the ropes, and you're tired, and you got guys in there beating on you. And
I do have a question for you.
Special breed.
Now,
go ahead.
So I was going to ask, for the younger generation, and this goes toward your son as well, and even for Austin, because he's still a young man too, what advice would you offer to them or to your son if either one, like if your son wanted to get into wrestling, or even Austin who was aspiring to want to be a wrestler, what advice would you offer to them about getting into the business?
Well, it's funny you say that. My son's 19 now, and he has no desire to be a professional wrestler. And I mean, he grew up around it. Yeah, grew up around it, coming to shows, watching me. He's seen me, bust my head open on the floor and put 5 staples in my head and just look at me like it was just like I got a scratch on my finger and put a Band-Aid on it. So I mean, he's seen a lot over the years, but and he has the avenue. I mean, I've got a lot of connections with people I know, and I could probably push him up the ladder faster than I had the opportunity to be pushed up. But he doesn't have any desire to do it, and that's what it all comes down to. Be everybody is not meant to be a professional wrestler. If there was, then you'd have a lot of problems getting booked on shows if they had 1,000 people that you had to compete with in Louisiana. But like I said, there's actually a lot of guys, unfortunately, in the business that don't belong in the business, and that's probably a touchy subject that a lot of people don't like to talk about. It's a business. It's you're out in front of a crowd performing, and just because you put on a pair of boots and a pair of tights and come out to some music doesn't mean that it makes you qualified to be able to be a professional wrestler. And unfortunately, there are guys out there that do that. But like I said, it's all about the passion of wanting to do it. You can't just say, okay, well, I just think that I can do it and I want to do it. You have to have the passion, and if it burns inside of you and that's what you want, then and you have the ability to do it, then I say go for it. Like I said, it is a risky business. I've had sprained ankles, torn ligaments, head busted open, stitches in the eye. I've and saying that, I'm very fortunate. Because there's a lot of guys that's had, major neck surgeries, broken backs, unfortunately, I don't know if he's listening out there, but a good friend of mine, Gino Van Dam, he lives in Pierpont, Louisiana. He was a professional wrestling and, had a freak accident in the ring, and after about a year and a half in the business, and he's sitting in a wheelchair for the rest of his life, paralyzed. So there is that factor involved, and that's why I would never talk anybody into being a professional wrestler, because I wouldn't want to be responsible for something like that happening to them. But if somebody comes to me and says that's what they want, because I've trained several guys, well, more than several. I've trained dozens of guys who's went on to wrestle and gave it up, and there's plenty of them that still do. Guys are out there wrestling right now in the independent circle. I've helped them get to the point where they're at, and I take pride in that. But like I said, I would never go to anyone and actually offer, hey, I'll train you to be a professional wrestler. If they come to me and that's what they want, and I talk to them and I can see that they really want it, then I'll help him as much as I possibly can. But so if Austin's out there and he wants to be a professional wrestler, there's avenues to be able to do that. There's plenty of good training schools. I know Luke Hawk runs one in New Orleans. He's probably got, if you look at it on pen and paper, what he's done, giving him props, he has probably one of the most respectable training schools in the avenue to be able to push you to that next level. Of course, there's many guys that wrestle through Elite Championship Wrestling, which I know Austin's a big supporter of, which is John Saxon, Steve Anthony. Those guys can definitely, do the same thing for you. They have the skills to really teach you. Like I said, I have a training school that I run here in Morgan City, Louisiana as well. But like I said, I'm not putting myself out there to be the only one that can train, because there's many qualified people in Louisiana that can do it. But the whole thing about it is having the passion and not just wanting to do it for the fame and fortune, but you have to be an entertainer, you have to be an athlete, you have to have mic skills. It's a total package that really makes a wrestler better succeed to the higher level. So anybody out there listening?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
I was saying, I really, I'm really into professional wrestling, and it's definitely my plan to go out there and become one in a few years. And it's never been about money for me at all. I can care less about money. If I had to sleep in my car every single day and night, I would take it just to be in the ring and go out there every single night, even if it's me, a short pay or something like that, I don't care. I really don't care. I just love professional wrestling. I love to entertain people.
Right.
So I'm getting caught up here just talking about it. I cannot tell you how much I love all of it.
Well, how old are you, Austin?
Right now I'm 16 years old.
Right. Well, you got a few years left, and like I said, that's the difference between there's not putting you down or anything like that in any way, but that's the difference between being a fan of professional wrestling and watching it and being a fan of it and actually becoming a professional wrestler. It's two different avenues. And like I said, that's why in the world of professional wrestling there's wrestlers and there's fans, and it takes both to make the business go around. We watch on shows and you see all the guys holding up belts in the audience and everything, and they buy the belts and everything, and it's because they love wrestling and they want that lifestyle of being a professional wrestler. And granted, you might be one of the best wrestlers in the future in one day. And that all comes within your desire and your ability and what you can do, and only time will tell that. But like I said, you've got time to be able to grow, get older. I would suggest, some type of physical endurance, working out, running, doing something like that, getting your body in shape and everything, because it does take a toll on your body, and the more muscle mass and tone you have, the more your body can endure. And like I said, there's a lot of big guys out there, guys that aren't big muscle freaks or anything like that wrestle and do well in professional wrestling. But I know that's the route I take. I try and keep my body in tip-top shape and keep it in its peak physical performance, and that's what helps me.
Very cool. Very cool. Now I got a question as far as if fans who follow the wrestling companies that you guys have out there, and in particular yours, or just a fan of you in general, is there a way that they can follow you on Facebook or Twitter?
Yes, I do have a Facebook. I do have two pages, Mustang Mike. They can go in, and I have a fan page as well as that. And also they can look me up. I think if they type in Mustang Mike, it gives you both my pages. My actual real name is Michael Beadle, Beadle. They're welcome to go out there, and if and look at my page or a friend request me, I'll accept all wrestling fans that love wrestling and to keep up with everything going on. Like I said, they can go on YouTube and type in Mustang Mike Wrestler. They can see multiple matches that I've had on there. But like I said, I haven't ever got involved in the Twitter and stuff like that. I guess that's something my next endeavor, because I know that's a lot of people do that now. But yeah, I do have a Facebook, and you can go on there and see just about basically my schedule, or I have past photos, videos, and everything like that. So feel free, anybody out there can go check me out on Facebook as well.
That is so cool, very cool. And I actually, on behalf of Austin and myself, we definitely want to thank you so much for taking the time to tell us your history as far as you definitely have had quite the career for yourself. And, you know, it doesn't necessarily mean if you don't make it to WWE or back then and back in the day, WCW, that your career can't be as good as anybody else's. You sound like you've had quite the career, and yes, you are considered a decorated veteran at this point, being in the independents and have helped so many people as it is. So I would definitely say you deserve a pat on the back because you've helped a lot of people and you've had quite a career for yourself. And it sounds like Austin has definitely heeded your advice as well. But all that aside, in my behalf, I definitely want to thank you so much for being on here and telling us your such a great story.
Sure.
Thank you so much. I'm sorry. You go ahead.
Yeah, just to give you a small. I know he put a lot bit on the blog and everything about my history, but yeah, I've wrestled for probably 20 different federations. Over the years, different federations, and probably over a dozen of them I've had titles, whether it be tag team titles or singles titles and stuff like that. So, titles come and go. But like I said, it's all about the fans that come out there and support us. Without the fans, to come out and buy tickets and help the wrestling matches go on, there wouldn't be professional wrestling. So, I mean, you can't afford to put on a show and have nobody there and wrestle in front of the chairs and the tables. So it's all about the people out there who come out and support professional wrestling, and I thank everyone out there that supported me over the years and everybody that's in my life now that supports me. And I said it's a toll on your body and on you, and you physically and mentally. When you're going out there, you have a lot to think about when you're out there and you got 300 people and they're looking at you when you're in that ring. So I appreciate all the fans out there that supported me over the years, friends and family as well.
Very cool. And I'll definitely also
much respect for all what you guys do in the ring, what you guys do in pro wrestling. I have a bunch of respect for all that. I mean, you guys go out night in and night out, and you put on the best possible show you can just for the fans' entertainment, and you put your body on the line. And it's so amazing to me that you guys want to do that type of stuff, and I hope I get a chance to do it also.
Yeah, well, I wish you good luck, man. Like I said, I know you got a few years before that's a decision that you really want to make, and my advice to you is to make it for the right reasons, and if you do, by the time you actually start to become a wrestler, or if you ever do, hopefully I'm still around, and at that time I don't see myself quitting anytime soon. I still feel as young as the guys who are out there that's half my age. So as long as I can compete, maybe one of these days I'll be in the ring with you.
Look forward to it.
All right. That's
all right.
Cool.
All right, guys.
Definitely would love to see that match, by the way.
And me too.
Well, yeah, maybe you never know. Maybe he'll be my partner, or maybe he'll be my foe. But either way, I go out there and I rock the house and give 110% every time I'm in the ring. So
no doubt.
I look forward to more times in the ring, and as long as my body can go and I can give it 110%, I'm gonna be out there performing for the crowd. So
awesome deal, awesome. All right, sir. This is Mustang Mike. Thank you again for joining us here on Pipebomb Radio. Hopefully, we'll have you on again sometime in the very near future. And with that, we definitely hope you have a great night tonight.
All right, guys. Y'all take care and support independent professional wrestling.
Always.
Absolutely.
All right, guys. Thank y'all and good night.
You too. Good night.
One last word for everybody out there. Boom.
Boom.
Too funny. Oh, and that was Mustang Mike